You know, the one thing about hatred and anger, even as I say them, this is interesting. And again, in some way, and certainly in some life, we've all felt that. Even if we don't remember it in this life, maybe it was last life, maybe it was 10 lives ago, 100. We've all been there. So no judgment at all. There's so many consonants in those words. They sound so hard, don't they? Hatred, wow, anger. It's just, certainly we don't want to be there, which is, of course, why the question's being asked. And one thing I would like to say, because I can't recall it right now, but in a course that we offered here last year called Secrets of Emotional Healing, one by one, we went through Swamiji's little book, A Secret for Each Day of the Month, and hatred and anger were both in there. And what Swamiji did with each of those emotions, in literally one or two sentences, almost always, is he gave us the spiritual antidote to those feelings. And before I answer right now, I want to strongly suggest both the person who's asking that question, but for anybody who didn't take that course, it was just 30 classes with Swamiji. That's all I can say about it. And I highly recommend that you go to, I don't know where, is it on anandapaloalto.org, and you can find it, and you can still register for it. And for every one of the emotions, Swamiji gave us a beautiful answer and way to take that energy, because that's all that hatred, anger, jealousy, discouragement, anxiety, depression, discontentment. I can't remember all 30 of them. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're there. They're energy. They're just energy that has gotten stuck in us somehow. And it's in us. And what's so fascinating about life, and I see this now with absolute, utter clarity, even when it's coming at me, and I say it because it's helped me feel pure love more often in life. That is, when somebody throws a barb at me, I more often see it's not at all about me, even though those barbs usually come in a way where we could learn a lesson. It's amazing how often people will throw something at us and it strikes a nerve in us. And the more we respond, the more we react, the more we know that it's something in us that we could still look at. Part of what I'm going to talk about in 2 weeks in this class on courage is that aspect of karma when it comes to courage, because we all know that if, whatever way, for instance, when we're talking about courage, that we still experience fear, it just means karmically we still have work to do there. But in this instance, to understand that whatever we are feeling, it's in us, and we move through life typically totally unconsciously, finding places to put it, judging someone, getting angry at someone, being easily hurt by people, anxiety that comes up. It's in us. So that is where the change needs to happen. Even if the other person has much more spiritual work to do than we do, even if that's the case, what difference does that make to us? The way that what we need to do is actually say, wow, I have the great good fortune of being aware that that feeling is in me. Therefore, I can actually do something about it. Because one thing is absolutely for certain: we never, ever change anybody else through words, through a desire to have them be different, ever. What we do, and Jyotish said this so beautifully in his opening talk at Spiritual Renewal Week. These are his exact words. He said, we don't change ourselves to change other people. We change ourselves to change our consciousness. And he meant uplift and expand it. Then that consciousness that is now uplifted, more expansive, just sort of does the work. That is what has the impact on the world, on other people. And many times I've said to people, come to our Sunday services, come, or Sunday service wherever you are, whatever community you're in, and look at the people who typically sit closest to the dais. And mostly look at their faces, feel their energy. It's not that they're up here smiling and happy. It's not out like that. It's that there's a serenity, there's a grace, there's all of what you can feel that would have your soul say, I want that. Because that's the shift in consciousness. So that's what we are trying to do, is raise our consciousness and get away from the fact that that other person who is probably really, or maybe suffering in certain ways, that we need or want to change them. Now, I'm not saying that the question even says that, but I think that's an important starting place. How we move that energy, how we shift that energy, which is a lot of first and third chakra energy. It's energy that has enormous spiritual power, enormous, except it's all going out in the form of anger and hatred. So it's really, what's the word? When you waste, squandering a huge amount of spiritual energy. So the first thing that I would suggest doing when something has a hold of us is chanting. Make a commitment to chant 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day if you can, maybe more. If you can't chant, that is, play the harmonium, do your own chanting. Get chants with Swami Kriyananda. Chanting, and there's many ways to do that, many discs of him chanting. And listen to him chanting, his chants, Master's chants, as much as you can, because hatred and anger are not going to respond to logic. They just won't. It needs an energetic shift, some way of loosening energy and getting it through that third chakra up into the heart chakra. The heart chakra where, in the way, bringing it up, keeping it in, so it's not going out in the form of emotion. If you take all of hatred and anger or greed, any of those strong feelings, and you bring them up to the heart and just let it be emotional, you'll be miserable. We'll be miserable. But if we can get it through the heart chakra to the point between the eyebrows, even through the heart chakra, just hold on tight there, then we can win. And that's what chanting does. This is part of why Master says chanting is half the battle. Imagine that, 50% of your battle right there, just by chanting. It's a huge way, because without thought, it's beyond mind. It's purely energetic. Even if we wanted to listen to instrumentals of Swamiji, Life is a Quest for Joy. There's a few other that I can't remember right now, but whole CDs, beautiful CDs of, or online now, just electronic versions of pieces that Swamiji's written that are instrumental, then our mind can't grab onto any words and fight with them, because Satan really wants to win this battle with you. Satan really wants to win. And boy, even on your way up, he will grab your feet and hold on and not let you ascend up to and through the heart chakra. So even Swami's instrumental music is extremely, extremely valuable. But so is chanting, because each word has a vibration. So if we can sing with those chants, we don't have to think about it. We don't have to figure it out. We just dive deep into the music and the consciousness behind both the music and the words. And that will really help. And that would be the most useful thing, I would say. But there's one other thing I want to add. When Sister Gyanamata said, we're not responsible for the first thought that comes in. So the first moment of, I hate her, that's what happens to human beings. Everything after that, we're responsible for. So once we know, once we see where the weaknesses are, our job is not to give Satan even another moment, because I promise you, I know this for sure, probably most of you who are listening know it for sure, we are no match for Satan. We are not. We will not win the battle if we get into the battle. And remember, Master said, you cannot solve a problem on the level that it was created. That means that hatred and anger are qualities of the ego. They are not soul qualities. The antidote to hatred is love. The antidote to anger is calmness, peace, love. These are divine qualities. So our job, as soon as we are aware of those feelings, is to immediately draw in these other qualities. And don't think for a minute that it's easy. Of course we don't want to be feeling hatred. You know, when I get into a fight with my partner and I find myself feeling anger, or worse yet, yelling at him, I don't think how awful he is. The thought that comes later is how awful that felt, that was in me and that I allowed that to happen. It feels terrible to spiritual aspirants to go down that road. If we're honest, it feels awful. It's not about the other person. It's like, how did that happen in me? So when Sister Gyanamata said that, we are responsible for everything after the first thought, and particularly when this is something that's repetitive, so we can get ready to love. Love as soon as you can the object of what was just your hatred and your greed, and it will feel so much better, because there's two truths to this. One is when Swami Kriyananda said, go after everything on your spiritual path like your life depends on it. He said it because it does. When I was preparing for a talk that I was to give at SRW, I must have read that in his words in 3 different places. Our life means spiritual success, and that does depend on us being successful. And if we don't get it the first time, that's okay. That's what I was just telling Evelyn. If you don't get it the first time, so what? You wanted to get it. God knows that. Next time, stop right away. No, because that person that we were just hating or being angry at or wanted to judge or wanted to call stupid, if we have the ability to look beyond the human costume, it's a perfect soul. It's an absolute, that piece of the divine within them. And I've often said to people, and this is another way to conquer this, would you ever feel that, say that, behave that way if it was Master that you were talking to? If it was Swamiji right now, right across from you, could you find hate? And people say to me, of course not. Would you call that person a terrible name? Would you be judging them if Master were even in the room? Oh no. Well, he is always that very soul that you're finding within yourself to hate. That's God himself. That's the truth. That's not just some simple made up phrase that we like, oh, that'll help me feel better. No, we forget it over and over, but it is God himself. Open your heart. Find true, not condescending compassion. Oh, they can't help it. Oh, they can't do any better. But wow, that really is God looking back at me. That's how I'm going to behave. The minute the thought comes, you jump in with that. Do not let that thought, they deserve it, they're misbehaving, they've mistreated me this way so many times. Again and again, I've had to come back to the same thing with them. That's just your ego. Don't let it in. So quickly, the second that happens, you're on a slippery slope with nothing to hold on to, and you lose. You fall. You fall into that darkness within. So there's much more to say about what you're asking about, because what you're asking about is the spiritual path. And it takes courage, and it takes strength. It takes enormous effort. That's what we're doing here. Don't get hard on yourself. Don't even waste a moment criticizing yourself. Just, I haven't succeeded yet, but I will, and it's all about you, not them. Very, very hard, but always the truth. Truth is one, it's eternal, it does not change ever. It's pure, unitive energy. So that's our goal. So I hope that answers your question for you.